Okay, I'm pretty excited about this, folks. Let's make sure. Welcome to the first edition, as my head looks like Nicole Kidman in an AMC commercial, thanks to this goofy window. Welcome to the first edition of Missouri Postgame Live, the first time, and thank you for coming onto the SEC channel. Mizzou, we will be getting fans. We will be getting our own channel. We're just kind of slowly working out the kinks of being able to record longer than 15-minute videos, because YouTube, it's a lot of benefits, but it has its problems. So welcome to the show. Mizzou wins 45-3 over UMass in a game played between two college football teams. I mean, there's not a ton you can take away. We'll talk about some of the takeaways that I had. But God, this is the third game now against one of these teams. I don't know. I mean, we knew coming into the year this was going to be a blowout, so it was. It's one of those games where if you had won by less than 30, it's time to disband the program. UMass is a mess. Maybe the most hopeless situation in college football. It's up there with a Kent State, Akron, insert other programs here that are not coming to the top of my head. Louisiana Monroe is usually pretty helpless, but they've got a really nice coach in Brian Vincent. So Mizzou did what they needed to do. There were some hairy moments in there, but they got the win 45-3 over the Minutemen in McGurk Stadium up in Massachusetts. Second time in Eli's tenure we've gone to the Northeast. We don't really recruit out there. I don't understand it, but Jim Sturk made it so. So let's talk about some things. Last week was a disaster on all fronts. Almost maybe some chaos. And Bama doesn't look as good, obviously, after last week. Last week's loss might have ended your season, but there's still plenty of football to talk about. And if some chaos happens, your season's not over. So they go in and they dominate. First play, second play. Yeah, second play. Luther Burden takes basically a jet, goes 61 yards for a touchdown. And immediately, I will not lie, I have not watched a lot of UMass football. They're just not a program I'm going to watch. I've played with them in an NCAA 25, but it was very abundant. It was very clear at that point, okay, Mizzou's got athletes. UMass just doesn't have athletes. They just don't. And what Mizzou does in this game, they need to just roll. They need to, if they keep composure and don't turn the ball over, they're going to win this game by 30 to 40 points. And they did. But the first half, I don't know if anything you can say. I guess okay, they're up 24-3, but it's still a little, I don't know. There were still a lot of moments in that half that were really, really frustrating. I know they won 45-3, but this just is not I'm just thinking of the fake punt so the weird thing about these games, and I don't think I've said my name yet. I am Zach Ramelius here with Voice of College Football. I want to thank Mark. I'm just so excited to jump into this. The thing about these games is it's hard to take away a lot of positives, because any positive you do have, it's UMass, it's Buffalo, who had a nice win over Toledo. It's Murray State. It's hard to really come away with a lot of positives, because that's what you should be doing against these teams. Positives, I guess, Luther Burden is still awesome. The defense was pretty good for the most part, outside of the drive right before the half. But even that was aided by the most obvious fake punt. I mean, Emmanuel Acho. No, Sam Acho. Sorry, I flipped him. Sam Acho stinks on commentary. That commentary team is horrible. Even he, and he was really good at Texas, but even he was like, hey, they're probably going to fake punt here. It was called, and Mizzou called a timeout. and they still gave up a 39-yard run. So the defense, it was aided by that, but sometimes I wonder if this is just not a well-coached football team. But they did hold UMass to 237 yards, 2 of 14 on third down. Out of the defense played okay. We'll see next week against we'll see them play Auburn next week, but Auburn isn't very good either. So if the defense plays well in that one, who's to say what's going to happen against Bama and OU, and as presumably OU is going to get healthier. They're missing approximately every single wide receiver on that roster. So going more into this game, some other highlights. Williams Nwaneri's first sack as a Missouri Tiger, the 5-star recruit, makes his first big-time play as a member of the team. You wouldn't know it was him because they were talking about 2008 Texas, but he got it, and that's awesome to see. He was always more of a project. Mizzou fans, we were really excited when we got him, as you should have been. Mizzou getting a 5-star in the trenches. Next up, Jackson Cantwell, hopefully. But he was always more of a developmental guy, and to see him make an impact today was pretty cool and good for him. Just because he hasn't played this year doesn't mean the future's not extremely bright for this kid. If everything goes right, he should be in the draft in 2 years, but we'll see. So I thought the defense was fine. They threw a lot of guys got reps today. The secondary still had issues getting cooked on play action, like they did all last week, and how they had a couple busts against Vandy and a couple busts against Boston College. Unfortunately, UMass's quarterback, and who I know went to Clemson, so he's not completely untalented, but he's not very good, and he just missed him. Or they dropped him. They had a couple drops in that game. He finished 12 for 22 for $132. Like, okay, I thought Mizzou run D was pretty good. You take away the 39-yard run, just doing mental math, that's 30 carries, 56 yards. Like, I thought Chris McClellan had a great game in the middle. Again, it's hard to come away with a ton of positives against UMass. And I know for show you're expecting me a lot of energy. That'll be next week when they play Auburn, if they do win. But it's UMass. Like last week, if I had done this, you would have seen me throwing the spray bottle I use when my cats are fighting. See me throw this Powerade bottle. Well, not this particular one, but my water bottle. Like, it'd been fun. But moving on to the offense, I thought Brady Cook was okay. I think he missed a couple throws. The last touchdown drive where he hit on a couple big time throws, including the one. Both of them to Norfleet, who I was writing notes down on what I wanted to talk about. And one of my notes was going to be, where is Brett Norfleet? He's had 7 catches this year. But we can talk about that here in a second. Those were 2 big time throws. Maybe that gets the ball rolling a little bit. But other than that, a lot of checkdowns. He had the 63-yard touchdown to Josh Manning. He dumped it off at the line of scrimmage, and Josh Manning made a play against UMass. Like, it wasn't some crazy throw, or he let him up the sideline. Is what it is. Still no overall decent game. He didn't turn the ball over. He never really put the ball in harm's way. He did some Brady Cook things where the pocket's fine. He doesn't have to move, but he runs around and then he runs into pressure, or he runs himself into having to hurry up a throw instead of just waiting back, being patient. 3rd and 10, there's no pressure in his face. He checks it down to Theo Weiss. Why is he running like a little crosser? I don't understand that. He's a really good jump ball guy. He was last year, at least. Whatever. I thought in the second half, Marcus Carroll really got the ball running. I had a tweet here. I pointed this out in the first half because I tweeted it because I didn't want to forget it. Before I got my notebook out, and I just wanted to get into an argument with somebody. 16 carries for 53 yards from the running backs at the end of the first half. That's not nearly good enough. That's the starters being in the game. And Nate Noel was out with apparently some back tightness. We'll see what happens there. Interesting time there. But, I thought in the second half, Marcus Carroll, who I thought was going to be the starter coming into the year. I did. I thought he was going to be the starter. And Nate Noel would kind of be the third down back. I thought maybe if you're an older Mizzou fan, not older, but like a decade ago, if you remember like Russell Hansbrough, Marcus Murphy kind of running back, where like Murphy was the primary, or not Murphy, Hansbrough was the primary back, and that was going to be Carroll. But certainly Murphy had a lot of issues, a lot of carries in 2014, and he would have been the second back. But it's flipped. Noel's getting all the carries. And Carroll's kind of been relegated to straight second string duty. So I see some more people piling in, some more of my fellow Mizzou fans. Go ahead, hop in the chat. What do you think of today's game? If there's any other questions you have, any talking points you want me to hit on about this game, the season, moving forward, please, I insist, bring it on. Stick around for a little bit because it's the first show. I have just a couple of notes. There was a deep crosser to Daniel Blood as we moved in the second half. Cook just missed it. Other than that, kind of a ho-hum game for Brady Cook. They didn't push the ball downfield. Again, I know a lot of people were asking why is Brady Cook still in the game, and I think they were up 38-3, 31-3. I actually really appreciated that Eli kept him in the game. Their offense is after they were up 38-3. Their offense has stunk all year. Get these guys reps. Like, now the hard part begins. You have Auburn, who isn't good, but they're talented and they can beat you. You are not above any of these teams left on your schedule, except maybe Mississippi State. Mississippi State's pretty garbage. You could lose out, except in Mississippi State. If you lose Mississippi State, we've got some issues. But you could lose to Auburn. You could obviously lose at Bama. You could lose to OU. You could lose to South Carolina. Certainly could lose to South Carolina. They're a pretty good football team. And you could lose to Arkansas. They need those reps. I appreciate that they got Brady Cook those reps as the game wore on. God, my hair, I'm having a horrible hair day. But man, like, he's just got to continue to be better. I don't think today was bad. Like, last week was terrible. Last week might have been his worst start since like the Florida game in 2022. But whatever. Marcus Carroll, I think, did a great job in the second half. It was nice to see Jamal Roberts getting some carries. He didn't do much with those carries. I thought Tavoris Jones came in. Now, he came in and played with the backups. So it's hard to say if Tavoris Jones should move to running back 3, but ahead of Lacey and Jamal Roberts. Drink likes to talk about how well Jamal Roberts does in the pass game, pass blocking, and blitz pickup. So I think he'll continue to be running back 3, but he didn't do a lot with his 3 carries today, only 7 yards. Cook ran the ball a couple times. He took one really bad sack where it was very, very obvious UMass was blitzing because that's what Don Brown likes to do. And he patted it, got drilled. And oh my goodness, Georgia Tech just like ran like an 80-yard touchdown in. Holy cow. That's the fun with being on my shows is I still have 2 games on. And I have TV like literally 6 inches in front of my face. So, but something I want to talk about, and if there's anybody in the chat that wants to bring this up and have a conversation, all off season, the media, the team, the fans, and I believe rightfully so, talked about how great this wide receiver core is. And again, I think rightfully so. I think on paper this is a pretty good receiving core. Let me pull up something I had it on my phone because I just pulled up the College Football Reference. Coming into today, Mookie Cooper's really good. Obviously, Burden's a star. Weiss is a star. Mookie Cooper's pretty good. Josh Manning had a huge camp. Norfleet is going to have plenty of opportunities over the middle. Guys like Daniel Blood. Like, it's just a super deep wide receiving core. And then coming into today, and Marquise Johnson, who I know has been hurt. So I kind of don't want to put him on the list. But he hasn't caught any bombs yet because no one on this Missouri receiving core has caught any bombs yet. Norfleet, 7 catches. Manning, 6 catches. Cooper's got 9 catches. What is like even at halftime today, it wasn't pretty. It wasn't pretty. And Norfleet had a couple of the big plays in the second half. Hopefully that gets him going because the pass game in the middle of the field for Mizzou has just been non-existent, which is super frustrating. But Josh Manning got an opportunity today to make a play. He just got a little rollout. Theo Weiss scored basically on the same play last year. against Florida, and Josh Manning takes it to the house for a touchdown. Great. Give him more opportunities, please. I like Mookie Cooper. I think Josh Manning should start to really, really dip into his snaps. I think Josh Manning's a little bigger, even though the broadcast today called him a tight end. Don't know. I think he's bigger. And Mekhi Miller is another guy that just hasn't done really anything this season. And I think he's very talented as well. Only 2 catches. I think he had a drop today. I think Josh Manning needs to get more reps. Yeah, did Mekhi have a catch today? No. I mean, Tyler Stevens had a catch today. I mean, I know that came from Pine. But Norfleet, 3 catches, 48 yards. Manning, 2 catches, 68 yards, including 63-yarder. Burden had 5 catches, 59 yards. They seem really giving him the ball early. If you have this deep receiving core, use them. Like, I know Burden's the star, but there's plenty of opportunities for other guys to make plays. That's why you have a star. That's why when you build out a receiving core, you don't want one guy, a bunch of twos. You want a number one. You want an alpha because he takes so much attention that opens up opportunities for your number 2, your number 3, your number 4, your tight end, running backs. And Mizzou just really hasn't done that. Like, it's been a lot of Weiss, and Weiss has been pretty quiet outside the Buffalo game. He had the 59-yard touchdown against A&M last week, but it was 34-0. Like, who cares? He had a big game against Buffalo, almost put up $150. But he's been pretty quiet. I mean, the whole passing game has been really quiet, and I don't have access to all 22. I don't know. It could be one of several factors. One, and I think this is a huge part of it. Brady Cook's regressed. And now we've kind of gotten into the whole season. We're talking about the whole season now because what more is it said about UMass? You did what you were supposed to do. The drive before the end of the half was ugly, but Corey Flagg makes a really nice play, returns it 80 yards. You get a field goal out of it. Cool. I think Brady Cook has regressed. He's never had a strong arm. And a lot of teams are playing too high on him, or 3 high or whatever. They're not letting these receivers get open deep, but he's missing on these throws. I mean, they had a free play today, and it was a free play, so just throw it up. And he still underthrew 3-0 Weiss down the sideline. Like, that can't happen when you're starting to get to these games against Auburn and Arkansas and not Mississippi State, South Carolina. These teams that theoretically – maybe not South Carolina. You should be better than. And you can't miss these, but they're pretty close to you. And if you miss these opportunities to make big plays, and let alone OU and Bama, obviously Drew Pine's not going to start because I know there's a lot of clamoring for that on Mizzou Twitter. I do think Brady Cook's better than Drew Pine, like by a decent amount. You saw Pine come into the game. There was a lot of confusion. He was playing with a lot of young guys. Drew Pine throws a nicer football. I won't deny that. Like it's, and we saw this with Sam Horn last year when he played against South Dakota. A quarterback with a little bit of zip is such a weird thing to see on a Mizzou field right now. Because how long has it been? It's been since Drew Lock. I mean, since then we've had Kelly Bryant, who was really good for 5 games before the dirty play by a Troy player. You had Connor Bazelak, who had no zip. You've had Brady Cook, who just can't throw with any zip. It's weird to see when Pine throws a ball, and it's like, oh my God, the ball went 10 yards and didn't leave the screen. But Brady Cook's in no danger of being benched, as he shouldn't be. Although I almost started calling for it when he threw the hospital ball to Burden. Like that was, I joked about it with a couple of groups of friends. Like that was prime Peyton Manning to Austin Collie hospital ball, where you could have seriously injured your best player against UMass, up 31-3 or 24-3 or whatever the score was at that point. He's just regressed, and even in 2022, when he wasn't throwing the ball, he'd still provide a decent run threat. He's not doing that. I think he's pretty severely regressed. Now we'll see what happens moving forward. Maybe those 2 throws today were a sign of things to come, because sometimes that is all it takes for quarterbacks is a play or two, something clicks, and then you go. I think that's what happened last year. I think he hit that deep ball against Burden against Kansas State, and all of a sudden it's like, okay, and he's playing with a lot of confidence. But we'll have to see. We'll see next week against Auburn. That's a really good defense coming up from the Plains. 2, the second thing that might be going on, is he too focused on Burden and Weiss? I don't know if that's the case. I don't have like a targets thing in front of me, so I don't know if that's the case. Sometimes it looks like it's the case, especially with Burden, which I understand. He's your stud. But, man, like, you keep telling me about all these talented receivers, and the only ones I see, again, I'll pull it up. Weiss has got 28 catches, and this is coming into today. Burden's got 26 catches. Next closest receiver has 12. And Burden had 5 today, and Weiss had 3. And the number's only going to get that spread's only getting bigger. I know they're top 2 guys, so that's just kind of, they're going to have more targets and more catches than everyone. But like, none of these other guys are even close. So, and 3 is Kirby Moore, just kind of stink now. We've seen at Mizzou before, where a OC comes in and has a great first year with a super talented team. And then the next year, things are with a QB he had the previous year. Now, a different situation between, I'll just go ahead and spoil it, Matty Mock and Brady Cook, obviously. But the offense looks a little shaky, and then the third year, it's a disaster. Now, Kirby Moore has more of a track record than Josh Henson does. So we'll see. But it's not unheard of at Mizzou for an offensive coordinator to have one outstanding year and then things just slowly, become unraveled. But we'll see. I don't know. But Mizzou does get a win today. They're 5-1. They're everything's still on the table. You might need some help, and you can't go into Tuscaloosa or Columbia, South Carolina. You have one mulligan left to have any hopes of the playoffs. You have to go 10-2. 2, that second loss, you cannot get rocked. They got rocked last week, and getting rocked once may have taken them out of it. We'll find out in the nearish future, but man, that loss last week really hurt. If they had lost like 28-17 or something, I think everything's still on the table. Like, they control their own destiny. I don't think they control their own, unless they go 11-1, which I guess then they do control their own destiny, but it is what it is. So that's the problem offensively. I think Nate Noel's been really good. He does a really nice job in that zone scheme. God, my laptop stinks. Problem is Texas A&M isn't that good, and Mizzou didn't bother to show up play. I disagree. I think Texas A&M is actually a pretty good football team. Texas A&M played Bowling Green pretty close. I understand that, but Bowling Green also did play Penn State for 50 this is week 3, so 53 minutes, 54 minutes. That was a really tight football game. Bowling Green's not a bad football team. They beat Notre Dame. They lost to Notre Dame. Connor Wegman was horrible. I don't know. I think Texas A&M's a pretty good team. Texas A&M, the issue Mizzou's also going to run into is there's only so many spots, and now you're probably, if you look at the rest of Texas A&M's schedule, it's pretty dang soft outside of a trip from Texas, and Texas goes into College Station. It's a pretty soft schedule, and if Texas A&M goes 10-2 and you go 10-2, well, they beat you 41-10. So I know who I would pick if I'm trying to select spots, and that may be one of the final spots. But that's still a long way to go. I don't want to talk too much about the playoff because I hate the playoff. We can talk about that more on Missouri Live. Monday, 7 o'clock, our first edition of Mizzou Live. I'll just be here to talk. We'll talk a little bit more about this game. We'll talk about Auburn, some recruiting news, even though Mizzou really hasn't had any recruiting news, which is a little unnerving for the 25 class. I know they got some stokes in the fire in a couple places, And there's they just had a guy decommit. He's probably going to go to Kentucky, but is what it is. But please like and subscribe. Subscribe to our Missouri channel. We just announced it. I did. I don't know. Mark tweeted it out yet. Tweet out the link, man. Subscribe. Like this video. Subscribe to all of our channels. We have a wide network of channels. People covering every team, every which way. Super fun. This program is only growing, folks. And you can catch the College Football Show with Mark Rogers Monday through Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. I should mention the Mizzou show will be at 7 Central because I have work. I do have lives. You can catch all our shows on Spotify. Please use the Amazon link in the description. A lot of nice stuff. I use the notebook, which I left on the table. Shoot. I'm not getting up and get it, but the notebook I use, there's plenty of things on there. And then just, keep guys, we're building. Be a part of this rocket ship as my computer mouse is not working. As we continue to improve and get better as a family of networks, think of it, just continue. We're not going anywhere. We're only growing, evidenced by a Mizzou channel. I started doing these programs 3 years ago, but I was doing Bama because Bama's a huge program and they needed somebody, so I did that. But now I got my own. I got to do Mizzou, baby. Let's go. So pretty excited about that. Any other notes I want to talk about that we can't delve into on Missouri Live? Will today lead to more carries for Marcus Carroll? Maybe. His first half was not very good. Again, we came live pretty much 20 minutes after the show. I don't know if that's O-line. I don't know if it's Marcus Carroll's just not seeing it like Nate Noel can, or if Marcus Carroll, because he's not as fast as Nate Noel. If Nate Noel is just a tick faster to the hole, and that makes a huge difference. Again, Mizzou fans, if you remember, Russell Hansbrough got hurt in 2015, and then Ish Witter came in. Russell Hansbrough was just a tick quicker at identifying things, and that can make all the difference. Kawan Lacey got 7 carries for 16 yards. They're not explosive in the run game outside of the 35-yard touchdown. Although Marcus Carroll did have 3 touchdowns today, which is pretty cool for him. And Burden had the big plays. But I'm just talking straight up. You take away that 39-yard run. Now we're at 14 carries for 52 yards, which isn't even 4 yards carry against UMass. So that's just not going to get it done. They spread the ball out a little bit more today, but Burden went out. Apparently, according to Eli, he's going to be okay. So we'll see what happens moving forward there. They didn't force any turnovers, which is a little disappointing, but I think UMass did a pretty nice job of not putting the ball in harm's way, no matter what was happening. Did get a couple sacks. McClellan had a really nice game today. He had a sack. Marcus Clark had a sack. Niwanari had his first sack as a Missouri Tiger. So they dropped 3, 6 tackles for a loss. Ideally, you'd like to see that a little bit up higher, but I don't think Norwood and Pride particularly had great games. And I don't know. So obviously making the switch to Corey Batoon, we could talk about the defense as a whole here a little for a second. I don't know how to feel about it. Last week, they were terrible, but it could have just been a bad game. But they weren't very good against Vandy. They weren't very great against Boston College. A couple busts. He seems to like to play back, and maybe he's trying to do the red zone roulette thing where, get into the red zone, we're going to make you kick field goals. But I would like to see a little more aggressiveness. But that comes in hand with the offense has to be better. So we'll see. I mean, next week is going to be a huge week. If you win that game, you're now 6-1. You're probably going to be inching back closer to the top 15, and you're going into Tuscaloosa against a Bama team that's reeling a little bit. They lost to Vandy. They escaped South Carolina. They could have lost that game pretty easily. And then they go to Tennessee next week, and we'll see what happens there. But you might be seeing a Bama team that has 2 losses. They barely beat South Carolina. we'll see where they're at. Now, on the other hand, they could come out and be like, oh, our season's on the brink. Let's murder this Missouri team. Don't know. We'll find out. Thank you guys all for watching the first episode of Missouri Postgame Live. Hopefully next week we're on the Mizzou football channel. You can follow my Twitter. Let me actually put that up. Come on, computer. You can actually follow me on Twitter at PsychoZ50, and you can see all the updates for Mizzou football. If you guys have any comments, please leave them. I'll be here for another couple minutes, and we can talk. If you have any points, any questions, you can follow me there on Twitter. It says Missouri Postgame Live. Like, subscribe to our SEC channel. Subscribe to all our SEC, Big 10, ACC, Big 12 networks. We have a huge college football Saturday, obviously. Morning slate, a little weak. Bama, South Carolina certainly made it interesting. But this afternoon slate, you got Texas OU, you got USC, Penn State. Really interesting afternoon slate and games that, even like Pitt, Cal is a little interesting. But and then next week is a bigger week to me. Just across the board. I know everyone was hyping up this week, but man, next week you got like Tennessee, Bama, Georgia, Texas. Like next week's crazy. Oh, Stanford has an early lead on Notre Dame. That would be big for Mizzou if Notre Dame could win that one. Not going to lie, or Stanford could win that one. Not going to lie to you guys. So thank you guys so much for watching. Like, subscribe, and when we do start the Mizzou channel, like and subscribe over there. Actually, you can do that now. Missouri Voice of College Football, the Missouri Tigers, is up. We're just having some issues with the YouTube channel, so go subscribe over there. And I will see you guys next week. Mizzou plays Auburn. Just keep grinding out victories, man. That's all you can do at this point. MIZ.